A 6-year-old girl was shouted at and driven out of the house by her stepfather. Her suitcase burst open, clothes scattered all over the yard. Her dress was stained with dirt and her little face was blurred with tears. She knelt down sobbing desperately, begging to be allowed to stay, but no one helped the child. Until a millionaire walked up, extended his hand, and said a single sentence that left everyone in shock. "From now on, you are coming with me." Before we begin, please leave a comment about this story and give it a rating from 1 to 10. I wish you a few relaxing moments while listening to this story. The heavy wooden door swung open, echoing through the hallway of the house. A week had passed since the funeral, but the wooden home had not known a single day of peace. Emily Carter, 6 years old, stood clutching a small suitcase against her chest, her eyes filled with confusion. She had once been the center of this house, once lulled to sleep by her mother's songs, once carried in her stepfather's arms as he read bedtime stories. Now that warmth lived only in memory. David Carter, 40, a man who had once been gentle and calm, now slumped unsteadily in a leather chair. His striped green and yellow shirt was wrinkled, his hand gripping a half-finished glass of liquor. The alcohol had reddened his eyes, his voice rough and unsteady as he roared, "You are not my child. You are nothing but a burden. Get out! Get out right now!" Emily flinched, her small hands trembling as she gripped the handle of the suitcase. She tried to step toward the stairs, but a sudden shove from behind knocked her down onto the steps. The suitcase burst open, clothes scattering everywhere. Her old teddy bear, a birthday gift from her mother, rolled across the cold tile floor. The woman standing nearby, Vanessa Blake, 30, the cousin of Emily's late mother, quickly walked toward David. Her tight red dress and golden curls gleamed under the light, her lips painted in a sharp red smile. She gently touched David's arm, her voice pretending to soothe. "Stop it! The poor child. You've had too much to drink." But when she turned to Emily, her eyes flashed with a mocking smile that disappeared just as quickly behind a mask of pity. Emily saw it all, but she dared not speak. Outside in the yard, a few neighbors stood hidden behind the fence. They sighed, whispered among themselves, yet none dared to step in. The door of this house had long been shut against any interference. Emily struggled to her feet, picked up the teddy bear and pressed it tightly to her chest. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She whispered, almost as if speaking only to herself, "Daddy, you once promised you would never leave me." David staggered down the steps, his face darkening. "Stop pretending." "Go." Emily knelt upright, her voice breaking but clear. "I'll be good. I won't make noise. I can sleep on the sofa if you want. Just please don't send me outside. Don't call me Dad." David snapped, "Your mother is gone. It's over. I won't carry any more burdens." "I'm not a burden." Emily shook her head repeatedly, clutching her teddy bear so tightly her hands turned pale. "I can make porridge the way Mom taught me." "I'll study hard. Please don't drink anymore, and it scares me." "Shut up," David roared, pointing a finger straight at her face. "You're exactly like your mother, always dragging me back to the past." Emily sobbed. "The past is our family. You used to carry me on your back to the park. Don't you remember?" Vanessa leaned in, her voice smooth, dripping like oil on fire. "David, that's enough. Let her learn to walk away on her own. Daddy, please." Emily pressed her hands together, her knees bleeding from collapsing onto the tiled floor. "You're all I have left. Get out." David gritted his teeth, shoving the suitcase out into the yard. Clothes spilled everywhere, even her wrinkled nightgown. Just then, firm footsteps echoed at the entrance. A tall man in a cream-colored suit stepped through the gate carrying a black leather bag. His hair was neatly combed, his face stern, yet his eyes shone with determination and compassion. It was Jonathan Reed, 35 years old, a leading attorney in New York and the founder of Reed and Partners. He had represented major corporations and held wealth the press often praised, but he had never boasted. Today he was not here for business. He had come because of a promise he once made to Sarah, an old friend now gone, to visit her daughter often. The scene before him froze him in place. The little girl slumped on the steps, clothes scattered, teddy bear fallen to the side, while David swayed unsteadily and Vanessa smiled with victory. Without a word, Jonathan stepped forward, picked up the teddy bear, and placed it gently into Emily's hands. His voice was calm yet resolute. "David, this is how you treat the child?" David stiffened for a moment, then growled, "Jonathan! Who do you think you are to interfere? This is my house, my family. Get out right now." Jonathan straightened, his gaze locked firmly on David. "Your house matters are throwing a motherless child into the street? That child is the daughter of the woman who once loved you with her whole life." Emily clutched her teddy bear and looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. But deep inside, a faint light flickered, the first since her mother's death. Jonathan turned, holding out his hand toward her. He spoke slowly, each word carved into the heavy air like a vow. "From now on, you're coming with me." Emily hesitated. She glanced at David, hoping he might stop her from leaving, but David averted his eyes and turned back inside. Vanessa smiled, triumphant at last. Emily's small, trembling hand touched Jonathan's. Behind her, the door slammed shut with a heavy echo, sealing the end of her past life. And that was the moment that marked a new journey, one where a child would find family again, and a man would rescue the fate of a little girl. Jonathan bent down, picked up the scattered clothes, tucked them back into the suitcase, and brushed the dust off Emily's teddy bear. Without another word, he helped her to her feet. "Let's go, sweetheart," Jonathan said softly. He opened the Bentley's door, fastened her seatbelt, and adjusted the seat to fit the frame of a 6-year-old. Emily hugged the teddy bear tightly against her chest, her eyes red, unable to lift her face. Across the porch, the front door of the house stayed firmly shut. Next door, Mrs. Linda Green, the elderly neighbor, pulled back the curtain just enough to watch. She opened her window and called out into the empty street, "The little girl didn't do anything wrong?" Her voice trembled, but it carried firm conviction. Jonathan looked up and nodded in gratitude. He would remember that voice. Witnesses mattered now. Inside the car, silence pressed down. Emily sat motionless, squeezing the teddy bear so tightly her fingernails pressed into the fabric. Jonathan spoke quietly so as not to startle her. "Your name is Emily, isn't it? Your mother told me so much about you." Emily's whisper was almost inaudible. "My name is Emily." Jonathan gave a faint smile. "Your mother was the best friend I ever had. She once told me if anything ever happened, I should look after you. From now on, I promise you will not be alone." Emily shifted slightly, still keeping her head down. "Mom used to say Uncle Jonathan was the only one who always helped her." He drew a deep breath. "She was right. And I'll keep helping, starting with you." The next morning, Jonathan brought Emily to the neighbors, Linda and Henry Green. They gave sworn testimony of what they had seen. A little girl kneeling, begging not to be thrown out, and a door slammed in her face. Emily herself, clutching her teddy bear, quietly drew a picture of a house. 3 figures, her mother in the middle, herself on the left, and her father on the right with his back turned. Jonathan photographed the drawing for evidence. Attorney Michael Turner, Jonathan's colleague, prepared an emergency custody petition. Detective Maria Santos provided photographs and recordings from the bar the night David signed over documents under Vanessa's manipulation. By afternoon, they stood in court. Judge Patricia Coleman presided, her gavel striking once to silence the room. On one side sat Jonathan with Emily, supported by Turner and Maria. On the other, Vanessa Blake, her lawyer Peter Dawson, and David Carter, weary and broken. Turner presented the neighbor's testimony, the photographs, and Maria's recordings. Dawson tried to dismiss Emily as unstable, but the judge refused any unverifiable reports. Then it was Emily's turn. Jonathan guided her gently to the witness stand, his hand steadying her shoulder. The courtroom hushed as the little girl whispered, "Aunt Vanessa said when Dad finished signing the papers I wouldn't be there anymore." Then she looked directly at David. "Do you remember, Dad?" Central Park, 2 vanilla scoops. You folded a paper boat from a receipt and said if the wind was good, it would reach Mom. That day, the wind was perfect. David's eyes filled with tears, his shoulders slumped, and for the first time he whispered, "I was wrong. I let her mislead me. I abandoned you." The courtroom froze. Vanessa slammed the table, screaming, but Judge Coleman struck the gavel sharply. Order returned. Detective Maria stepped forward, playing a recording of Vanessa's voice from the bar. "Sign it, and the girl will disappear." The walls of deception collapsed. Carla White confessed to laundering the trust fund money. Mark Sullivan admitted witnessing the manipulation. Dawson's falsified report was exposed. Judge Coleman announced her ruling. Vanessa Blake, guilty of fraud and asset misappropriation, sentenced to prison. Carla White and Mark Sullivan, accomplices facing liability. Attorney Dawson, disbarred for falsified documents. Officer guardianship, shared between Jonathan Reed and David Carter under supervision of social worker Karen Liu. Months passed. David quit drinking, attended group meetings, and slowly rebuilt himself. Emily, with therapy, began to heal. Every Thursday, under supervision, David visited her, sometimes silent, sometimes reading her stories again. He carried with him the old teddy bear she had once given him back, promising never to miss a visit. Jonathan gave Emily stability, a safe home, and unconditional care. Together, they created the Sarah Carter Foundation to support orphans, a legacy in her mother's name. Finally, one bright afternoon in Central Park, Emily stood between Jonathan and David, holding both their hands. She smiled faintly and whispered, "I will try to trust again, because I think Mom would want that." And so they walked together along the lake, a small family stitched back together from ruins, not perfect but whole enough to begin again.